I recently picked up this book on growing dahlias, The Amateur's Book of the Dahlia by Mrs. Charles H. Stout. It was published in 1922. And as I started reading through it, it got me thinking about gardening 100 years ago versus gardening now. What are some of the things that we've learned? How has our thinking evolved? And what are some of the lessons that we are still using that still hold up today? So I want to talk about 5 lessons from 100 years ago that I think are still relevant today. Each one based on the writing in this book, as well as a bit of my own perspective and experience in growing dahlias at home. And if you want to see more about living with dahlias, growing them at home in your own garden, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that like button. So the first lesson I want to talk about is dividing dahlias. First, she strongly discourages you from just taking the clump as you dug it out in the fall and plopping that in a hole in the spring. And I am definitely guilty of that. And dividing plants, there can be a little bit of apprehension, I think, with dividing some plants. I mean, some you can just basically hack them apart and plant out the separate pieces and they're going to grow fine. Other plants, like dahlias, require you to slow down a little bit. One thing that really stood out to me about how she talks about dividing dahlias is how much emphasis she puts on the careful examination of the clump of dahlias that you bring out of storage in the spring. And looking and trying to and identifying the tubers and where those eyes, where those growth points are, and ensuring that when you're dividing, you're making sure that the tubers have an eye. The dahlias are not the kind of plant that you can hack apart and hope for the best. They invite us to slow down and be a little bit more deliberate, and they will absolutely reward us for our patience when it comes to dividing. And it's a great way of getting more and more of the plants that we like. Lesson 2 is less about dahlias and more about your yard, and specifically compost. Mrs. Stout begs in her book, stop getting rid of all of your leaves. So Mrs. Stout says, please do not burn the leaves this autumn. When the leaves begin to fall, rake them up as heretofore. Instead of putting them into neat long piles along the paths and road gutters, setting fire to them and making the air pungent with smoke, carry them in sacks or barrows and dump them into your pit. Protect them with garden trash, old sod, brush, or bagging or anything handy which will keep them from scattering. Sown ice will weigh them down and in melting will decay them. During summer, the heat and rain will continue the process. By autumn, you will have the finest fertilizer which the garden could wish for, and practically without cost. Nature is providing you, every fall, providing you with future compost. And then also throughout the whole season, as you're cutting back other plants, cutting back vegetables you're growing, all that kind of stuff. You know, just turn it over occasionally during the summer and it's gonna break down. The goal is to fortify the soil that you have, to build it out over time to benefit dahlias. You don't need a quick fix. You don't need to throw down a lot of fertilizer or other synthetic chemicals. There's no reason to go out and buy those for growing your dahlias. Everything is probably right in your yard. You may need to modify your soil a little bit, but quite frankly, in my dahlia growing, I have done very little. The large bed of dahlias that I have, that was lawn, so the soil was really quite poor. And because it was so big, I needed to buy in compost. I bought it in as bulk compost locally. That's because the bed that we put in was about 50 by 10 or 12 feet. It was a significant amount. I don't generate that much compost in a year to get that going. But now that it's been established, I just keep topping it off with the compost that I make in the yard or through kitchen scraps and that sort of thing. So the lesson here is stop exporting the fertility from your garden. Everything your garden needs might very well be right on your property right now. All right, so lesson number 3 is about storing dahlias. I've put up a few videos about my process for storing dahlias. When it comes to storing dahlias, Mrs. Stout talks about People differ greatly on the best way to keep dahlia roots. During the past 12 years, I have taken everyone's advice, tried every method suggested, lost many valuable roots, and come back to my own conclusions. There are two things essential in the keeping of the roots. In the first place, every root must be absolutely sound before it's put away. The second important factor in keeping of roots is a cold, dry room, a room where there is no danger of freezing and where no artificial heat can reach it. There's also a part that I liked in the chapter about storing dahlias where she talks about a material, ground cork, that was told to her by a commercial grower as a trade secret for the best way to store your dahlias. And I'm sure we've heard all of those kinds of videos, the best way, the easiest way, the cheapest way, a hack for this and a hack for that. Gardening hacks existed in 1922. They were just spread by books and word of mouth instead of social media. So she talks about how it was really difficult for her to find the ground cork, but she finally did, and she was really happy that she did it so she could try this out. So she says, "These I brought home in triumph and packed my dahlia roots carefully in them. Next spring, there was not a living root among the lot. So much for ground cork, so far as I'm concerned." And so the point here is you do need to find kind of what works for you. My favorite material to use is sand, and so is actually Mrs. Stout. I was surprised and delighted to read that. I have myself tried lots of different ways of storing my dahlias, newspaper and vermiculite and all kinds of stuff. And quite honestly, I always go back to sand. Sand has never let me down. Too much moisture is the enemy, but so is drying out. And sand is really good about walking that fine line. I've tried many methods over the years, and I keep coming back to sand for the exact reasons that Mrs. Stout describes. Lesson 4 is all about listening to your plants. If that sounds a little strange, bear with me, trust me on this. Listening to your plants is about just paying attention to them, how they're growing. Let your plants tell you what they need and what they don't need. They're gonna guide you. They're gonna show you what works and what's not working for them. And that's gonna make it a lot easier for you to care for them. Whether you're watering and feeding, cutting them back, it's all about observing what the dahlias need, what they're telling you. And it's not just about watching the dahlias themselves, but it's how the dahlias are responding to the environment that they're growing in, your garden. There's going to be differences in the microclimates, in the soil, the different conditions that are present just naturally in your garden and what you're able to give to the soil and to the dahlias that you're growing. Mrs. Stout points out that because of these differences, that even one dahlia variety that's grown in Europe may not, as she puts it, recognize its own twin that's grown here in the States. Because of the differences in the microclimates and the soil and that sort of thing, the dahlias are going to respond differently. They may look a little bit different, even if they are the same variety. And the great thing about this is that it means that you don't have to follow a detailed instruction manual. Dahlias are a robust, forgiving plant. Not all dahlias need to be staked. Not all dahlias need to be constantly deadheaded. As the stalk grows, if you cut back that stalk to a leaf node, that's going to encourage side shoots, and side shoots are going to encourage more flowers. But if you don't do that, the dahlia is still going to grow. It's still going to be able to produce flowers. Whether you do or you don't cut them back, there's no wrong answer. Similarly with deadheading. Some dahlias respond well to deadheading. Other dahlias, they're not as bothered if you don't do it or don't do it as often. I let the flowers age out because the longer they're there, the more that they're available for the pollinators, the bees and the butterflies. And when they're completely spent and no longer useful to the pollinators, that's when I'll go in and deadhead them. I don't do it on a particular schedule. I just do it when I'm out there in the garden enjoying it anyway. And maybe I'll pluck off a few spent blooms. And it's not just for this lesson, it's for everything that Mrs. Stout talks about in this book. She comes back to the idea that it's all about listening to your garden. And what I love about that is what it's really doing is it's encouraging us to be there, be present, be grounded in the gardens that we plant. You know, we put all this time into getting the plants that we want, putting them where we want, getting the bed the way we want it to be, and then it's just there. I think sometimes we forget that it's there for us to go and enjoy, to be in with the flowers, to see them up close, to see how they step back and see how they look with everything else, all of those things. And so that's what gardening really is about for me. And I love to hear that 100 years ago, that also was a big emphasis, that the gardens are here for us to enjoy. They're here for us to be a part of, as much as they are flowers in our yard. Honestly, the best gardening advice isn't another rule that you have to follow. It really is giving yourself the permission and the confidence to trust in what you're seeing, and that's what you can act on. So lesson number 5, dahlias belong in the garden, not in rigid rows. Mrs. Stout goes through, there's a chapter in this book where she goes through an extensive amount of detail about companion plantings, all kinds of dahlia types and colors, and the companion plants that go along with them. She talks about how dahlias belong with the other flowers that you're growing. They shouldn't be sequestered off somewhere. They want to be seen, they want to be hanging out with their other companion plants. If you think about the flowering of dahlias, they are a late summer and fall flower. For the most of the late spring, early summer, it's just foliage. And so they work really well taking handoff from maybe some of your your early to mid-summer flowering plants. And they go along really well with other fall flowering plants as well. Use them to create mixed borders. You get a lot of variation in color and height with dahlias, and so you can put the big showy dinner plate decoratives, the ones that get really tall, 4, 5, 6 feet. They can stand with other really tall plants in the back of your border. There are the small ones, the miniatures that are, maybe the plants get maybe like 1.5 to 2 feet tall at most, and those are going to go really well at the front of that mixed border. So there are so many options. If you're not growing dahlias, it's a no-brainer. Just add them as one of the other plants that you put into your garden. It's a great way to kind of introduce yourself to dahlias and see how they can mix in with the other plants that you're growing. You don't have to design elaborate staking schemes with poles and wires to keep everything stick straight and in perfect rows. You can save yourself that time, that money, those resources, and by mixing everything together, you're gonna get a really bountiful, beautiful garden without having to go through all those other elaborate steps. There's a lot you can do with your own creativity and how you design and plan out your garden beds. A lot of flexibility, a lot of color and strength that dahlias can bring to your flower garden. What I love about this book is how grounded in practicality it is. It really tries to bring dahlia growing to the home gardener. And I think that's why even the title, as the title suggests, it's the amateur's book of the dahlia. It isn't that this is basic or just a how-to guide. It touches on all aspects of growing and enjoying dahlias in your garden. It does so in a way that can connect with the home gardener. And I think that's one of the strengths. And I think that's something that really resonates and works today as well. We don't need overcomplicated, over-engineered, hacks and tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. Really, gardening is about kind of being grounded in your space and doing what works for you and what works for your plants. Sometimes looking back is a great way to help us move forward, help progress our own thinking. This is a really easy way to view and to learn from the lessons from the past and to help bring that into the future. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope these lessons connect with you the way they connected with me. It's really fun to kind of bridge gardening 100 years in the past and see how she and authors like her connected gardening to their times as well. It's really fun to see so much of what is done with dahlia gardening still being done today. At the end of the day, dahlias, just like any other flower, dahlias are a flower that respond to what you're able to give it. What you put in the garden is going to give back to you. That's a beautiful thing about gardening. That's a beautiful thing about dahlias. So again, thank you very, very much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.